Hello, this is Stuart Seipel. I am the Director of Liturgical Music here at St. Mary's Star of the Sea and Holy Savior Church in Ocean City, Maryland. We'll be learning some new hymns that we will use in August. The first Sunday in August will be the Feast of the Transfiguration. And we want to introduce this hymn, "'Tis Good, Lord, to Be Here." In the Breaking Bread hymnal, it is number 122. I have mentioned in the music notes that will be coming out shortly that this is a good hymn for this feast. It basically tells the entire story of the Transfiguration in hymn form. So what we will do first, I will just play through the melody line a couple times for you so you can hear how it sounds. And then I will sing a couple verses along with that. And then I will introduce the whole hymn with the parts to it for the first couple verses so you can have a chance to practice that way. This is a fairly straightforward hymn. It's a shorter hymn. If you look down in the information underneath at text, it has the letters SM or simple meter. So this is how the syllables of the text are laid out, and it is we have "'Tis good, Lord, to be here," which is 6 syllables. Then you have, I believe, another set of 6. "Your glory fills the night," that's 6. And then we have "Your face and garments like the sun," so that's 8 syllables in that section. And it should end with 6, "Shine with unborrowed light." So this is one of the shorter forms, so it should be fairly easy to catch on. So before we get to text, let me just play the melody for you. So as I have been teaching this to the choir members, let's just take each phrase and look at it as we have looked at other things, the melody in terms of stepwise motion, skipping motion, and leaping motion. And so again, to just remind you, stepwise is basically having the note go from one line to the very next space, up or down. A skip being going from a line to a line, or a space to from one line to the very next line, up or down, or one space to the very next space, up or down. And a leap is basically anything more than that. We see most commonly 4-note and 5-note leaps, where you will see something going from a line, skipping the next line up or down, and then going to the space. And that would be a 4-note difference. And the 5-note difference is going from a line to a line that's skipping over a line. And we will talk about that as that happens. Don't want to get it too confusing. So this very first phrase, it's basically using the 5 notes in a scale. And if you've been in choirs or heard choirs, you will hear them often doing warm-ups that sound very similar to la 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 la. So this just uses those 5 notes, but it starts on a line, then it skips down, then it steps up and skips down again. So the first skip is a line to the line down. It steps up to a space, and then this skip, it skips down to another space, and then steps down to the bottom. So that can help you visualize what's happening, so that you can then have a mental picture of how the music is going to sound. And since you will have the melody line in the hymnal, that can be a reference point for you. Even if you do not read music in the sense of knowing what all of the notes, the names of the notes, most people can see this proportional relationship. So again, we have our first phrase where we're skipping, step up, skip back down again, then we finish it. Then we're going to be doing stepping. So the second set of the phrase steps up, but then you notice that we have this little pound sign in front of one of these notes. And that, if you don't know, is called a sharp in music. And that just means we're altering that note. We're moving it up a little bit higher than normal. This usually indicates, particularly in a hymn, that it is moving from one key to another key, usually what's referred to as the dominant key. And that is what's happening in this case. But it's still just stepping. Then the third phrase is more stepping, but it's kind of going back and forth. So we step up, we step back, and then step back up again. And we keep going. So we end up at that top note there. And then our last phrase is, again, those same 5 notes that we had in the beginning, this time just stepping down. So that last phrase is basically the second half of one of those choral exercises. So we would do la, 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 and then we'd come down. La, 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 la. That last phrase is basically that same descending. It just repeats and puts it into a rhythm. So let me play through the whole melody for you and see if you can follow along. And really the only leap that we have comes between that third and fourth phrase. So we're up here on a space, then we go down 4 notes. So we skip over one line, a space, and then we go to the next line. So between the word sun and then shine, you get this leap down of a 4 notes there. And those leaps can be a little tricky. They happen a lot, but sometimes they're a little more difficult to hear. So when I teach people these new hymns in a smaller group, like the choir setting or working with the cantors, the next step that I go to is just having people just use the syllable lo or law, and then go through the melody without worrying about text yet. The text adds another layer of difficulty. So let's try just going through this on law. La, 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 la. La, 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 la. La, 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 la. La, 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 la. And I like to use the syllable law or lo because that helps to relax your jaw. The biggest problem we have with American English, if you've listened to any other of these videos, these tutorials that I've put out, I've mentioned that American English tends to be very spread, wide as we refer to it. We tend to make our A's very ah sounding, our E's very E, and you can see, we call them wide because you can actually see your mouth spreading outward. And that makes a very difficult sound to blend in a choral setting, and it doesn't present well in a formal situation. Pop musicians, in their case, they use those things to create their own unique sound. But in a more liturgical or classical setting, you're looking less at creating your own sound and more of creating an homogeneous sound that is more conducive to having other people sing with you. So when you use the vowels aw and o, it helps your jaw to be lowered and it helps to keep your mouth more vertical. As we look at the text, we're going to pronounce these a little bit different than you would if you were just reading them. So that adds another layer of difficulty. Before we get to that, let's just try lawing through this now. So we'll go through now using the harmony as it is found in the Breaking Bread hymnal. Let me start right here. La, 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 and that gives you a chance to hear the melody there in context. Then we would go on to the next stage. We would look at simply at the text and look at proper choral pronunciation. We have "'Tis good, Lord," and we are currently working in the choir the idea of basically getting rid of R's. R's create a very interesting harmonic tone in your mouth just because of how your tongue curls up and creates a double resonating chamber. So R is a very difficult sound, and we try to get it out of our singing, either leaving it out, changing the way the vowel sounds. For example, with Lord, it's almost like a laud, L-A-U-D, and in some cases we replace it with a D. That's a little more technical for just congregational singing, but as I would read through it, "'Tis good, Lord, to be here. Your glory fills the night." Now, night is a strange one because, again, in our American English, we want to go to the E sound, which is the second vowel sound. It starts with na, and then it goes to ite, right? It changes. Call that a diphthong. We want to hold on to that ah as long as we possibly can. The glory fills the night, your face and garments like the sun. Like is the same as night. We want to hold into that law as long as we can. Like the sun, same thing with shine. Shine with unborrowed light. The problem when you get to night or like or shine, again, we get that spread sound, but the spread sound's very difficult to blend, and it tends to stick out in group singing. The contrary to that is, again, pop music, where things like that determine a singer's style. For example, most of country music uses those types of diphthongs to give it that specific country music sound. Now, if we look at the second verse, "'Tis good, Lord, to be here, your beauty to behold, where Moses and Elijah stand, your messengers of old." So we have stand, and in this case, we try to break at those commas. So let's just look at those two verses, and we'll add the melody to that. "'Tis good, Lord, to be here. Your glory fills the night. Your face sun shine with unborrowed light. 'Tis good, Lord, to be here, your beauty to behold, where Moses and Elijah stand, your messengers of old. And the final part of that is now adding the harmony to that. So what I will do for our hymn usage on the weekend, I will give you the second half as an intro. And we sing, "'Tis good, Lord, to be here, your glory fills the night, your face and garments like the sun shine with unborrowed light. 'Tis good, Lord, to be here, your beauty to behold, when Moses and Elijah stand, your messengers of old." And on the weekend, we'll probably go a little faster. It's always good to take it at a slower tempo when you are just learning, and I hope this helps those of you in the congregation to get familiar with this hymn, so that when we incorporate it on the first Sunday of August, you'll be ready to sing, and you will begin to enjoy this hymn as much as I do.